Welcome back, it's Nick from the One Guitarist channel. This is week 3 of the Ultimate Picking Guide. If you didn't check out the last 2, make sure you check those out first. There's a lot of things that are building up to this week. Today's going to be all about control, a little more refinement. We're going to talk about string muting, palm muting, string location, and why it makes a difference on where along the string length you actually pick and why it sounds different. And also basic things like just holding your guitar correct and making sure that you're in the optimal position so that you can play easy, so that learning the stuff is the easiest for you that it can be. So let's go take a look. So if you didn't catch the first 2 episodes on different picks to choose and the basics up and down strumming, you should probably check those out first, then come back here and check out this one because this one carries on from what we started before already. Muting is when you make sure the strings aren't playing when you don't want them to. There's 2 different ways to mute things. One of them is keeping this hand over here. Now these top strings over here, technically they're the bottom strings, but the ones that are towards the top, you can kind of mute them with the palm of your karate chop right there. These strings down here, you kind of like just lay your finger over the top of them, but not actually fret them down, but just over the top. For instance, see, these top ones are being muted because I have them covered but not actually fretted. So between using one of these fingers to cover up the dead ones on the bottom that you aren't playing, and this one, you can keep all of them, you can keep all the strings from ringing out when you want to. And while you're starting out, if you hit a chord and you hear something ringing out that you don't want to, you can immediately take both hands and cover them, like, oops. Get used to being able to mute them instantly really fast. That's a good skill to have, and you'll be using that over and over again all your life in different chords, especially if you're playing any kind of rock music or an electric guitar where strings really ring out because they sustain more. Another part to muting, take your fingers off the string slightly and mute them with the right string. So this one, part of it's taking this off, like loosening this hand up a bit. Part of it's muting it this. So I'm doing 2 things. I'm letting up on my fret hand and I'm muting them with this hand to cover them up. Practice that over and again for about 5 minutes, about 2 or 3 times a week at least. Practice it more if you can, but at least that. And again, if you only know that one chord, that's perfectly fine. Just play that chord. Palm muting. You'll use palm muting a little bit more with an electric guitar. Palm muting is when you actually put your hand on here just a little bit, but you're still playing the strings. It's not muted. This is palm muted, just a little bit on the strings. Sounds kind of cool, huh? So it goes from this, open, not open string, but like as in not muting it, to palm muted. That's got a really good chugga-chugga effect when you have like a guitar with a lot of distortion on it. And if you watch my Motley Crue series, that's used extensively in pretty much all their music at some point. Another reason why it's good to practice palm muting, even if you're not going to use it for that style of music, it's good for your wrist right here, to be able to lock it down here. And use only your wrist and your fingers for that. See, if you're used to strumming like that, and you force yourself to palm mute it and play with just this, it'll make your wrist better for strumming. So it's a good practice just for that alone, even if you never play that style. String location. Depending on where on the string you pick, it makes a different sound. For instance, if you pick a little bit more here, it's very trebly. If you play it up towards the neck, it's a little more bassy. Hear the difference? Right in the middle, right above the sound hole, is usually where I end up playing, or most people playing. Why? Mainly just because that's where your hand kind of rests, because I'm palm muting a lot, and that's just where this ends up. For certain parts of certain songs, especially on electric, I will sometimes purposely play here just so it has a little bit brighter sound. Or sometimes I'll play it over here, or even finger pick it. Very different sounds to use for different things. Holding your guitar. You want to make sure that whenever you're playing, especially when you start practicing and getting used to playing, you want to make sure you're seated in a good, comfortable position, and your guitar, if you have an acoustic, your guitar set on here, your back straight, all those different things that you might not think about all the time, but especially when you're learning, you need to be in the right position, because if you're all slouched and laying on a couch and you have it back and forth and you're just learning how to play, that's not going to help you learn better. You're going to learn either a bad technique, or you're not going to learn very well, and you're not going to be happy with your results. So make sure you're sitting up and playing it whenever you practice. So your homework for next week, make sure that you practice palm muting, know that one chord, that's fine, just palm mute that. Practice that for at least 5 minutes or so, more would be better. At least 5 minutes, at least a couple times a week. Make it, you know what, make it 4. Make it 4 times a week. And next week we'll come back and we'll do some more strumming patterns and use that. But in the meantime, between these first 3 episodes that you had, you should be on your way pretty well to next week, because we're going to actually be using these for a lot of different patterns and talking about different songs you can use these in. Don't forget to do your homework. Next week we're going to get into some more advanced stuff. I'm going to get into way advanced stuff in the upcoming months and years as far as strumming. But as far as basic stuff, we've covered a lot of good stuff so far. It's just on you practicing right now. So practice this weekend, practice during the week, and I'll see you next Thursday. Rock and roll.